When you think about your last meal, what comes to mind? Probably not a tiny, buzzing insect, but chances are 1 out of every 3 bites you took only exist because of them. So today, we're going to talk about the secret guardians of our food supply, bees, and what their future means for all of us.
So just how deep does this connection really go? Let's trace the path from a single bee all the way to the food that ends up on your kitchen table. It's a pretty amazing journey.
Okay, here's a question for you. What do almonds, avocados, and apples all have in common? Yep, you guessed it. It's bees. And this number, 75%, well, that's the percentage of the world's top food crops that depend on pollinators like bees. We're talking the fruits, the nuts, the vegetables, all the stuff we need for a healthy diet.
But listen, it's not just about having food, period. The work that bees do, it's the difference between a sad little misshapen strawberry and a big, juicy, perfect one. Seriously. They're directly responsible for the size, the taste, and even the nutritional quality of so much of what we eat.
Okay, so we know they're essential for quality. But what is all that hard work actually worth? Let's try to put a price tag on all this pollination and see just how powerful these tiny little engines are in our global economy.
Just think about your morning. That coffee you're drinking, the avocado on your toast, the berries in your smoothie, every single one depends on bees. In fact, over 90 commercially grown crops rely on them. They're basically a silent partner in almost everything we eat and drink.
Then here it is, the big one. The annual economic value of the work bees do for global crops is estimated to be as high as $577 billion. To put that into perspective, that is more than the entire GDP of a lot of countries. They are without a doubt one of the most valuable animals on the entire planet. And the stakes here, they just couldn't be higher. For so many of the crops we love, losing bees isn't just some inconvenience. It's a full-blown agricultural disaster. We're talking about a potential 90% drop in how much we can grow. That would mean some of these foods become insane luxury items. Or maybe they just vanish from our diets altogether.
And look, this is way more than just a what-if problem. To really get a handle on the incredible pressure we're putting on bees, we need to look at one of the biggest agricultural events on the planet. It's this modern marvel of logistics that happens every single year.
So, welcome to California's Central Valley. This is where 80% of the world's almonds come from. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that has a single, incredibly fragile point of failure. If you don't have honeybees to pollinate those almond blossoms, the whole system just grinds to a halt.
The solution is this incredible logistical feat called migratory beekeeping. Every single year, beekeepers load their hives onto massive trucks and haul them from all across the United States, all converging on California for just a few short weeks when the almond trees are in bloom.
And the scale of this whole thing is just staggering. Every February, around 2 million beehives, that's nearly 2/3 of all commercial honeybee colonies in the entire U.S., are trucked into California. It is, by far, the largest managed pollination event anywhere on Earth.
Now, on the one hand, this system is a lifeline. It supports a $6 billion industry, and it pumps hundreds of millions of dollars into the pockets of beekeepers. But it comes at a huge cost. This crazy travel schedule, all the pesticide exposure, and being packed so close to other hives, it puts immense stress on the bees. It makes them really vulnerable to diseases and parasites.
The whole California almond bloom really shows just how fragile a reliance on bees has become. So what happens if these bees, under all this pressure, just start to disappear? Well, the result isn't just fewer almonds. It's a domino effect that could rock the entire globe.
So here's how that chain reaction of pollinator collapse would play out. First, domino 1, crops fail. Yields of fruits, nuts, and vegetables just plummet. That triggers domino 2, a nutrition crisis, because healthy foods become rare and crazy expensive. Then, domino 3, economic chaos in the whole farm sector. And finally, domino 4, we risk the collapse of entire ecosystems as the plants that hold them together just disappear.
And we're not just talking about economics or the environment here. This is a public health crisis waiting to happen. Without bees, the most nutrient-packed foods in our diet, all those fruits, vegetables, and nuts, they'd become scarce. And some studies estimate this could lead to 1.4 million extra deaths every single year from diseases linked to poor nutrition. That's a staggering thought.
And if you think this sounds like science fiction, well, it's not. It's already happened. In parts of China, the local pollinators actually disappeared. It forced workers to literally climb trees and pollinate every single blossom by hand with a paintbrush.
It's a chilling preview of a world without bees, and it's incredibly inefficient and unbelievably expensive.
So this all brings up a really critical question. Why are we so hooked on bees? I mean, can't other insects or maybe even the wind just step up and fill the gap? Well, as it turns out, bees have some unique superpowers that make them pretty much irreplaceable.
So first, let's look at bees versus the wind. Now, wind pollinates big staple crops like corn and wheat, but it's really a game of chance. It just blasts these huge clouds of pollen everywhere and hopes some of it lands in the right spot. Bees, on the other hand, are like surgeons. They target specific flowers, making sure pollination is super efficient, especially for our most nutritious crops.
Well, what about other insects like butterflies? They're beautiful, sure, but when it comes to pollination, they're basically tourists. They just kind of dip in for a sip of nectar, and they often miss the pollen altogether. Bees, though, they're the workhorses. They are actively and systematically collecting pollen. It's their protein source to feed their young, which makes them way more effective at the job.
And here it is. This is their real superpower, right down to the microscopic level. A bee's fuzzy little body is covered in these branched hairs that carry a slight electrostatic charge. So as they fly, pollen literally leaps onto them. It's like static cling. They are living, breathing pollen magnets, just perfectly evolved for this job.
So, when you put it all together, our food security, our economy, and even our health, it all rests, in part, on the wings of these tiny insects. It's pretty clear that bees are our silent guardians, which leaves us with one really important question. Who is guarding the bees?